Hello, my name is BJ Richardson. Welcome to the very first episode of Read It Again. Read It Again is going to be a different kind of booktube, or you could say it's going to be a different kind of travel vlog. I'm taking those two ideas, traveling and booktube, and combining them into one. And right now, for this very first episode, we are here in a park in Gaziantep. I'm about a mile from the center of town. And right near the center of town, there is this castle. This castle is about 650 years old. It was built by the Seljuk Turks. But when they built this castle, they actually built another castle on top of a castle that had been built by the Crusaders. And the Crusaders had built a castle on top of a castle built by the Byzantines. Before them, the Seleucid Empire had a castle there. Before them, the Persians. Before them, the Hittites. All the way back to more than 1,000 years before Abraham was born. There has been a city or a castle right here over my left shoulder. In fact, I'm almost pointing directly to it right now. This castle has, this hill that the castle is built on, has about 5,500 years of history. There has been civilization, there has been a city, there has been a fortress here in this area for more than 5,500 years. Think about that for a minute. I remember when I went to my cousin's wedding in West Point, and seeing the chapel at West Point, that building was a few hundred years old, and it was like, just, it seemed so old at the time, and so majestic and so grand because it had been around for such a long time. But now where I live and where I travel and many of the things I see, they put that to shame. And like I said, this castle, the current version of the castle is only 650 years old. It was there before Columbus sailed to America. What makes a building that old last that long? How many buildings do you know that are 650 years old? How many buildings do you know that are even 500? For something to last that long, there is a standard of excellence. There's a standard of grandeur. There's a standard of greatness that would be in this castle, or some of the buildings in Rome, or some of the old, ancient, beautiful cities that have these old, majestic buildings. They are just that, majestic. And that's part of why I chose the phrase, read it again, for the booktube that I'm doing. Because many times, what I'm seeing on a lot of the booktubes, and don't get me wrong, I love reading new books and I love reading modern books, but sometimes we're reading so much, and I'm guilty of this myself. I'm reading so many books that don't matter, and that really they're going to have no impact on my life. And 10 minutes after I finished a book, I'm not going to think about that book ever again. In fact, how many millions of books are being created every year? Of those books that are being created, I'm willing to guess that 2/3 of them will never have more than 100 people read those books. And in fact, I'm willing to say 90% of the books created this year, 10 years from now, nobody will ever read it again. And that's true even with some of the greatest books, some of the New York Times bestsellers that are created now. 10 years from now, most people will have forgotten those books even existed. All of these books and all of these things we're reading, they really don't matter. So I want to look at some of the books that do matter and read it again. My goal, at least through from now until the end of 2023, once a week, I want to read a book that has made a major impact on my life, or a book that has made a major impact on history. I'm going to be looking at some of the greatest books ever created. In fact, if you want to let me know what you think some of those greatest books are, feel free to comment in the section below. And while you're at it, hit the like and subscribe button. We'd love to have you come back every episode. But starting next week, I'm going to be looking at some of the most important books that were ever written. I'm going to be starting with the greatest bestseller of all time. So most of you can probably guess what that is without me saying anything further. But I'll be in a different city, in a different location when I post that video. And we're going to be looking at another building that's thousands of years old. But I just wanted to say thank you and welcome to coming to Read It Again. And I hope to see you. And anyways, thank you for... thank you for coming and visiting this video, and I hope to see you again, and I hope you'll be able to join with me on this journey as we go through some of the greatest books of all time. While we're at it, before we go into next week, go ahead and grab one of the books that you've enjoyed and that really impacted your life. And before this next week, read it again.